Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 7, Episode 5 of Bosch. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Interestingly enough, this was also an episode where we saw a lot of familiar faces we ain't seen in a hot minute. That was kind of interesting. Like the person, the dude that Bosch talks to earlier in the episode. I don't think we have seen that dude since the season 1, because the case that they were referencing between each other was the first case, which you can think of similarities, because that was with a young boy, and obviously this is a little girl, so like there are similarities. But obviously he's kind of retiring, and for him it's like, he, at the time, Bosch was like, you said that, you believe that, despite everything that victim had gone through, it was like they were in a better, there was a better place for them out there. Like, do you still believe that? And he was like, I am basically having a crisis of faith, and so that's why he is retiring. Like, because it's just like, he doesn't know if he believes that anymore. But then he throws it back at Bosch. It's like, you said that you believed in some form, like basically getting justice for someone in this world. And he's like, do you still believe in that? He's like, getting justice is like in this world for like Sonia Hernandez. And he's like, jury's still out on that, Because there is the interesting conversation later on that him and Jerry have, where it's like, oh, are you, it's like, well, like, who's going to go, Pierce or Vega? Pierce is good, but Vega has rank on who go. It's like, yeah, Edgar's like, yeah, when you and me transfer. He's like, yeah, nothing's set in stone. He's like, wait, you're not going to transfer? He's like, I'm just saying, like, nothing's set in stone. So I think even Bosch is in the process of figuring out, like, you do this job long enough, it's going to wear on you case after case, especially for Bosch in particular, because he never shakes the ghost of any of the cases. Like, they always stay with them, because that's both the benefit and the detriment. The benefit is because you would want Bosch on your case, because he would make it his own, like, he makes every case personal, so that he always puts his everything into it. But the problem is, like, that can eat away at a person, and you've been doing this as long as he has. It's, so I think those are conversations sparking what I'm sure he's trying to decide for himself, like what he plans on doing next. The other familiar faces we had this episode was, like, for one, was Julia. I was like, man, we ain't seen her since, I want to say the last time she popped up was season 2, maybe? I don't know. But it's been a while, because, yeah, Billett's looking into everything. Like, obviously, like, the IA investigation comes back, and it turns out, like, they couldn't find out where the messages originated, but just that it originated on a message board. But then Billets points out to both the captain as well as Pounds that it's like, yeah, those two, Leonard and Norris, they're incels. And it's like, and it's not just them that just kind of an infestation at the department, but like, they're like, whoa, slow down. Like, neither one of us tolerates this, but let's not say infestation. It's just a few bad seeds or a few bad apples, essentially. It's like, reassuring her, it's like, no, we're about stamping down on this. And it's like, especially kind of messed up, because later on she finds out Leonard and Norris had already caused issues for Julia. Like, they were responding to something that got really nasty, kind of like those other cops who had talked to Billets. It's kind of a similar thing. Granted, their situation wasn't like anything crazy, but the one that Julia had responded to was like really out. It could have gone really bad. It was supposed to be all hands on deck, and they didn't show up. Obviously, she reported it. They kind of got the slap on the wrist and, like, basically got transferred so a 128 would get written about them, so, like, it wouldn't cause embarrassment for the department. So they got transferred over, and then Bills is like, and that's when it became my issue. So she ends up actually confronting them later on, because she brings it up. It's like, oh yeah, remember there was this particular gang thing that you guys were responding to. It's like, yeah. So all hands were on deck, huh? Where were you? They were like, yeah, there was a traffic thing. It's like, did you report that on the radio? They're like, no, we wanted to clear the airways. We wanted to keep the airways clear at LT. And she said, oh, okay. And walks away. And they had this look between each other, like, ugh, they didn't. The fact is that Billets is calling them out like that. It didn't seem like they appreciated that one bit, especially if they on some like incel shit. Like, just the way they talk, it's like, you can definitely tell it kind of, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm kind of worried for Grace, because I'm like, that could turn super sideways, especially if they feel like, oh, you're threatening their career and stuff like that. It's like, oh, no woman's going to threaten. Like, I don't know, man. They feel like they might have that energy. We'll see where what things kind of go on that front. Speaking of Pounds, at first I was like, Oh, the moment him and Bosch stop, I had to remember. I was like, right, I forgot you two have beef. We ain't seen you in a hot minute either. I forgot. And then like, because like, wasn't the last time we saw him, like, didn't Harry push him through glass, if I remember correctly? God, once again, that was like forever ago. Especially because, like, once again, like, it was a while ago. It had to be like sometime before season 6 came out. I binged 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it was a while. I stopped for a bit and then finished 5. So, like, it's been a while, so a lot of stuff is not as clear as it should be. But if I remember correctly, and I love that, like, Pounds is there, and he steps one way, and Bosch steps in front of the other one, and he's like, fuck you, Bosch, and walks away. I'm like, you got punked out. And even Minx is like, no, that was good. And even he said a specific thing, and then Bosch was like, what's that? He's like, oh, it's when you get a sudden rush of shit into your heart or something like that. He's like, mission accomplished. He's like, Pounds shit himself. He did. That was so good. I even love later on, Billet's talk. It's like, I wouldn't worry about the Pound. She's like, what happened with Pounds? And Bosch was just having a little fun. She's like, you know what? I don't even want to know. He's like, okay. And dropped that immediately the moment she heard Bosch was involved. Like, I don't want to know. Forget it. So I just thought that was interesting. Obviously, another angle to this episode is Jerry and Bosch visiting Alvarez because they finally got his keep-away status that he wanted. They go to get him. Oh, he's not in county. What happened? The FBI pulled him up. It's like, why? They go and ask... they try to, like, meet with the Attorney General because the person that works under her had said, like, yeah, like, I can't tell you why, but the feds have a federal case. It's like, for one, it's like, why is this now out of any point in time? It's like, right when we get his keep-away status, why snatch him up now? Like, at least, I mean, but it's, once again, it's like, you know how these shows always paint it, the feds, always stepping on our territory. It's like, but at no point did they give you a heads up about it. It's like, why? I guess it must be big time they want to keep it so secretive. I don't know. But it's like, it kind of screws them up, especially because it's like, we just want to talk to Alvarez long enough to know Mickey gave the orders and everything. But beyond that, it's like, they can't get any help from anyone. So later on, Bosch ends up going to Irving about helping kind of move that along, try and figure out. I mean, because I'm curious what this case is. I'm curious what FBI agents are involved. Are we going to get to see Reese one more time? Is it going to be her boss or whatever from last season? Like, would it be him? Would it just be some other FBI agents? Bosch ends up dealing with. I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where things kind of go on that front. But Bosch did like go talk to Mickey while Edgar put a tracker in his car. But during the conversation, just to rattle him, to be like, "Yo, Alvarez talk. We know you're the one that threw the firebomb." But it's like, no, we're not going to arrest you now, but soon. And it's like, at the end of the day, he was also like, right, like, you know, you won't find him because he's not in county. The FBI has him. But the thing is, like Bosch says it later on, it's like, it looks like he already knew, because I guess like if Mickey didn't know the feds had him, like you'd be at least a little concerned, like, oh, what, the feds have him? What the hell did the feds want? But like Bosch was like, it almost seemed like he knew. So maybe to get away from all of this, maybe Alvarez is spilling the beans about something else to get to get Homicide off his back about this. Maybe that was kind of like the whole deal. Maybe Mickey pointed him in that direction, or maybe Mickey and them are connected or are in the know about something, and he immediately, like, for him to be in the know either means he has some contacts that, you know, but I feel like he would probably have orchestrated that. Like, it had to be like they know something that will get the feds' attention, and that's what because it is interesting that it happens now. Like I said, just when he's about to get his keep-away status, so we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff over the course of the season I've been reading much into, like the Antonio thing. Now that I've had some time to sit on it, like I've had like a couple hours to sit on it because it's been a couple hours since I reviewed episode 4. It was actually kind of the next day. I'm kind of like, it's pretty stupid that I kind of thought that, but it's just, I don't know. Just, I get suspicious of boyfriends in shows, and I'm like, I know you're too close to the person that's involved in something. It just I mean, granted, yeah, you were dating last season, but I'm like, I get so much in my own head about stuff like that. I'm like, I overthink. I'm suspicious of everyone, type of thing. Which, speaking of, you know, Maddie and Antonio, like, well, obviously, this all connects to Carl Rogers. He's the person that Vincent was going to, like, spill the beans on. And obviously, Edgar and Bosch end up having a meeting with him But he kind of stonewalls and being like, if I knew Vincent, I told him maybe once or twice, I don't recall, blah, 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 blah. And then Fawkes, his lawyer, shows up, which I don't remember him as clearly because they're like, oh yeah, we went toe-to-toe before. He's like, oh, if I remember correctly, it was a draw. They end up referencing it later and it was like, it was some wannabe director. I vaguely remember. Once again, a lot of that blurs together, so I didn't remember him. But it's like during the back and forth about like, yeah, like, well, Vincent's gone, and well, what about Chandler? Well, you know, you lie down with dogs and stuff like that. Which he was like, but yeah, I was going to counter everything that Chandler ended up bringing up in court. And it's like, and then Edgar getting too eager ends up dropping the fact is we have another witness, and you can tell the look on Fawkes' face like, what? They thought they got rid of everybody. But Bosch did not appreciate that. It's like, Edgar's like, I'm sorry, like his smugness. And he was like, you let them know that there's a witness. You literally put Maddie in the crosshairs. What the fuck, Jerry? And it's like, even Jerry in that moment was kind of like, damn, I did mess up. Because yes, you didn't drop Maddie's name, but at the very least, you would assume it would have to be someone pretty close to Chandler and obviously at work and stuff. Like, you could still piece that together on your own, even without the evidence they end up having later on, because it ends up being... Because it's not till near the end that I remembered. I was like, right before the show, I was like, right, Maddie's face was on camera. Like, she leaned in partway through the record, like near the end of the recording, and she was there. She clearly shows her face when she's turning off the camera. I was like, no! I was like, damn. I guess she didn't. I mean, you don't think about that stuff because it's insignificant. It's just going to be something shown in court, so why should it matter? You know, but now it's like, they didn't have to necessarily piece it together themselves. It's like I said, because they did show you like her in front of the camera, but I guess part of me was thinking like she'd already turned off the camera by that point. It was just like removing like maybe the SD card or something like that. That's what I was thinking, but it's like the moment it's like we started like hearing the video playing, I was like, yeah, her face is definitely on the camera since they've been showing this. Which also shows, like, oh yeah, Fawkes is in the know about this because the only way he'd have those thumb drives and all this information would be if he got it from the killer. So, because obviously they're trying to connect to see if there's something mob related. So, Bosch ends up, because like some of like this particular case, the same MO and stuff like that, 2 double taps to the heart and everything. There was other cases, what was it, in Vegas and Miami that connected that similar MO. So Jimmy and Bennett were looking into that, but Bosch ends up having Crates and Barrel look into like whether there's some mob related stuff to this, and it turns out there is a mob connection. So that shows why, like, because they were even suggesting like Crates and Barrel were even joking about like, oh yeah, like. No, it was the dude that was talking to Jimmy and Bennett about like, oh, Fawkes, and they're like, oh, like, oh, was it? Somebody made a wisecrack about him potentially being a hitman himself. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he actually was a hitman. So yeah, there's definitely a mob angle to this particular case, which it definitely seems like it could be with just the professional hit and everything. So, but along with all of that. Well, because I wasn't quite sure who it was. Jimmy and Bennett were meeting up with somebody, but they were already on the plane. And it's like, well, all we can do is hit up whoever in Vegas and Miami to let them know to kind of be on the lookout for him, this particular person. Like I said, I don't remember who it was. I think they had gotten a name at the end of it all. Because they ended up finding the car, the license plate. They were, because Pierce and Vega were able to get them, so they ended up finding out where the car was. So, and obviously, like the person, whoever it was, took off because I think they also got a name as well. So, but obviously at the end, Fawkes is like, call him back. We have a problem. Like Maddie still needs to be taken out. Which, you know, speaking of Maddie, she's kind of going through a lot right now because. It's kind of, I had brought this up last episode, like, it's gotta suck, like, 2 important women in your life, both your mom and Chandler. Like, seeing Chandler like that had to make her think of her mom. And she even brings it up, it's like, what are the chances both people in my life that I care about, like, end up getting gunned down? Especially because, for her, like, Chandler reminds me a lot of mom. she's like, Eleanor was like fearless and she never backed down, and Chandler's the same way, and it's just like, for her, it makes her miss her mom just that much more. So Antonio is there to comfort her, which, like I said, I'm backing down on my suspicions of Antonio. It's like I said, I don't know why. It's just like, I was just kind of like, nah, Antonio. It's got to be Antonio. I don't know why that sparked inside of me. But nevertheless, I don't know, like I said, I don't know why I was super suspicious of him. But, so Bosch is trying to find a way to kind of help with the Maddie situation. So he ends up, the DA wants to talk to him, the one who's actually working this case, at Boyle, and she's like, we can get Maddie's testimony, but it's like, right, but if she's in front of a grand jury, all that's going to do is confirm she's the prime witness, so how does that actually solidify her? But it's like, right, if they try and kill Maddie, if we're able to get her testimony in front of a grand jury, if they, like, even after death, a witness's testimony is still admissible, so basically saying, like, they can't do anything about it. If they try to kill Maddie, it won't do anything, so it's going to deter them, because it's going to be more trouble trying to kill Maddie since she's already put her testimony out there. It's like, if we do it, it's just going to be admissible in court anyway, so why draw more unnecessary attention to ourselves? Like, why put ourselves out on a limb like that when we don't need to, because it's already too late? That it's supposed to be a deterrent. So Bosch kind of is like, all right, because obviously he doesn't want to put Maddie in the crosshairs, but he ends up talking to her later on. It's like, right, you're kind of in danger. Why? J. Edgar kind of, you know, he mentioned we had a witness. He made a mistake, but it's like, he didn't mention you by name, but it won't be long till they connect the dots. Granted, this isn't happening the next day. It's happening like the day after that, the following morning. So it's still like another whole day for them to still. But to be fair, like, the hitman has to come back apparently, or not unless that was referenced to like Carl Rogers. But either way. So so maybe Maddie's testimony sequence, but I still don't know if that's going to be a big enough deterrent. We'll have to wait and see. But Edgar decided, like, to talk to Billets to be like, yeah, I need some time off, and she's like, the kids or something. He's like, no, they're good, but I'm not. I need some time to kind of get myself straight. And obviously she hears from Bosch, like, what happened. So, but at the, Edgar's talking because she's like his aunt, isn't he? Isn't she the lady he visits? And obviously he opens up to her about Avril, and it's like, right, we got to find a way to get rid of his evil spirit from you. So, but at the end of the episode, we see him roll up at Harry's place, and I think that's him trying to make amends, because he even said it, like, I need time off to make things right, and it's like, I put Maddie in danger by running my mouth, so it's like, right, I've been screwing up a lot lately. It's like, Harry's my partner, Maddie's like family, so like, I gotta like, so I think either I'm sure he didn't clock in for this, but I think it's just like, nah, as a personal favor, I think he's going to be the one watching out for their place for this particular episode. So some other interesting things went down this episode, where we had Irving's meeting with Delgado, because Delgado is bringing up the conversation of kind of racial labeling, that basically black and brown people just getting labeled as part of gangs and stuff like that. But for, Irving, it's like, this is a bigger issue. It's not something that can be solved immediately. This has been something that's been an issue long before Lopez. Like, the gangs are still an issue, like, no matter how much time and effort we put into things. Like, and even talking to June later on, he's just like, the guy doesn't know what he doesn't know. Like, this job will eat him alive. I mean, he's so focused. It's like, really, this isn't really his concern. He's just using any excuse to, like, try and aim for my job. Even being like, well, the commission, we have to decide, together whether or not you should get a second term. And it's just like, it's frustrating for Irving, because it's like, you're not, like, all this doesn't mean anything to you. It means everything. That I'm trying to do a good job, and it's like, once again, you're trying to rush results, but it takes as long as it takes, because this ain't just some simple solution. It's like every case of, like, some labeling and stuff like that, the cops involved get disciplined, but it's still a long and steady process to get to fixing all of that. But later on, Jen is, like, texting while she's on in the car, and almost like she has to suddenly brake, and then a cop rolls up. I was like, oh, that sucks for you. And then literally comes Irving's car. I was like, oh, that's interesting timing. And then Jen goes, did you set this up? And he was like, tell Lopez that the FBI may have dropped it. but I haven't. And he rolls away. And I love the other cop rolls up after he checks her thing and is just like, stay off your fucking phone. It's like, wow, did he legitimately orchestrate? I guess the car parked there was for that like, I mean, did you orchestrate all of that? Wow, Irving, that's crazy. So it's like basically calling out Lopez. It's him calling out Lopez. It's like, yo, you want to like push me out? Like, don't worry. I don't know if Irving's necessarily found out what it was that she's looking, that like what FBI thing she's concerned with. Well, I'm wondering, there has to be some, I just thought about that. There has to be a connection there. Just, maybe not. Just like the fact is the FBI swoops up Alvarez and now there's this, like, there has to be some kind of connection. Like, there must be some connection between Lopez and, like, Mickey in that regard. Because it's just like the FBI being involved in some... I didn't even correlate that till just now. It's like, right, until I thought about what Irving said. It's like, right, she's happy about something not going to grand jury, but maybe it's because the FBI getting Alvarez gets them something else they need, and it cuts... like, maybe it's some, and like the fact is that Mickey knows about, like, there has to be some connection in that story. Those stories might end up connecting and being something, I don't know. Once again, it's just, you never know, like, how a lot of storylines will end up converging or not. Some of this stuff might seem separate, but ultimately it might all intertwine. Like, things will still kind of be their own thing, but for all we know at the end, like, the wrap-up might end up connecting a lot of stuff. So that's where my mind is currently about all of this. Once again, just throwing out thoughts and theories right now, but that's like the FBI coming up that much in those two different regards make me think there's got to be more to it. So I feel like this whole Rogers thing might be separate, but maybe that's connected. So once again, there's just so many moving pieces. There's so many cases and so much going on at the same time. We'll have to, ultimately wait and see where all of this ultimately ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.